It reminds me of when I was working at the movie at the record store, and Pan's Labyrinth. We had an end cap with like Pan's Labyrinth on it, and some guy and his girlfriend came in, and she came up to the counter and asked if we sold flip flops, and then he came up to the counter with a copy of Pan's Labyrinth and said, "Have you seen this?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Is it shitty?" And I went, "No, it's really good." And
quite good.
Like, "Oh," because I saw it has subtitles, and I was like, "Okay, maybe let me show you where the MMA movies are at."
Yeah, here. I mean, it is a film about the Spanish Civil War, so probably going to be in Spanish.
Right. Yeah.
Get over it. You're missing out.
Watch it with subtitles on, motherfuckers. And then eventually, like 10 years later, everybody's watching it with subtitles on anyway.
Yeah, if you're watching some like piece of shit giallo and you're like, you know what, I'm going to put on the English dubbing, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's fine. But if you're like, I'm going to watch this Bergman film, like you need to watch that in Swedish.
I'm going to take 15 deaths for the Valentine on fucking, some 1978 fucking giallo nobody's heard of.
Yes, 37 girls in a room that no one can get into.
Your heart is a locked door and the killer is naked.
These sound great. I'd watch these movies.
We should write these fucking movies. So you want to talk of this movie?
Well, I see no other way through.
The only way out is through.
That's right.
All right, so we open on some spooky ghost photos from the early days of photography as a narrator seems to read from their journal, implying that they feel like something bad is going to happen to them.
I fucking love this line because what she says is, there's a voiceover. You're looking at sort of suspiciously blurry photos, but what she says is, I feel like something bad is going to happen to me. I feel like something bad has happened to me. It hasn't reached me yet, but it's coming. That is such a bizarre and ambiguous line that I'm like, fuck yeah.
Right, because this is actually a bit of the narrative line that the movie does deliver on. And it's a quality, it's a very weird quality of it that when it all kind of circles back around and you realize what's going on, I was like, okay, all right, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much explanation, but you don't really need explanation.
No, it's just a spooky device.
Mm-hmm.
That it culminates in a neat little package at the end. Doesn't save the fucking movie, but it's just a couple of really good ideas that they're forecasting right now.
Yeah.
So the narrator, who we're gonna find is Alice, the teenage daughter who ends up dying prematurely here. She remarks that they feel like, I think this is somebody else. Might have been June, the mother. A narrator remarks that they feel like ghost stories are people's way of dealing with the grief of loss.
Oh, it's Alice's boyfriend who says
it. That's right. And then a woman says that a girl named Alice kept secrets from them.
So this is another issue that is going to be not quite shoehorned in. It is sort of one of the underlying themes, the idea of secrets and how well we know people. This is the part that feels pretty heavily ripped from Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, their last name is Palmer, and it becomes apparent why pretty soon.
I see. The thing is I did not make that connection immediately. It was like once that story starts to unfold, I was like, "Isn't this fucking Twin Peaks?"
Yeah, and it's completely.
I was like, "Is Alice trapped in the Black Lodge?"
But the idea that we don't really know people is it's a little
everybody's got a little internal landscape and shit that we keep to ourselves.
But this is part of I think what he's pulling on here is one of the bigger parts of Picnic at Hanging Rock. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay. So it is going to be, it's going to be hard to talk about it without you having seen it. But
no, we're recording this before we actually record the episode.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it wasn't going to work out timeline-wise.
But we can come back to it.
So one of the things about that movie, the premise is essentially that like it's a early 20th century girls' school, I think, if I remember correctly.
I'm familiar with the broad strokes of it, but yeah.
Yeah, so they go to, and I mean, that one was also pitched as it was based on a true story. It is also not based on a true story. But they go to like this place that is sort of socially, culturally significant. It's called Hanging Rock. And they explain in the movie why it's called that. Doesn't matter here. And 3 of the girls from this girls' school disappear for a short time. And then they reappear like several days later. And the movie is really about what happens after these girls disappear. And then what happens after they reappear. And one of the things that happens in Picnic at Hanging Rock is that there are a certain number of people that become a little resentful of these young women for having disappeared, for having caused this upset. I mean, for various reasons. There's a bunch of different reasons why. But that's something that's going to happen in this movie is this idea that I don't know you the way I thought I did, and now I'm angry with you because of that, or I'm disappointed, or I feel like our relationship was sort of a sham. And like, it's that idea. And I think that's what he's pulling a lot from, obviously, Twin Peaks, but also from Picnic at Hanging Rock, because there is this idea that like, we always, when people die, we talk about them in the best of terms. Even if they suck, we still talk about them in the best of terms, when the reality is actually we have this whole range of strange emotions that a lot of them we can't even really account for. And sometimes one of those is anger at the person who's dead for a bunch of different reasons, for whatever reason. But like in this, a certain number of people later on in the movie will kind of express a little bit of resentment at Alice for not having been what they thought she was.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that this being largely like a sort of horror movie as grief narrative, for all of the noise that like people made about like the Ari Aster movies,
Boo.
I know we are well documented on our feelings of those, but I feel like this movie is very understated. It's very quiet, but it is a much more realistic, more authentic sort of expression of like the ways in which people actually go through that sort of like the process of grief after somebody very close to them dies. Like it's a fucking complicated series of shit that happens to you.
It's also not a metaphor. I mean, this is a movie about how people cope with the death of this girl and what that really means. And in all the sort of myriad ways that manifests and all the emotions that come along with that. And unfortunately, they do sort of like try to resolve it with, and then everything's fine. It's like, no, things are never going to be fine with this. And I don't really feel like that's how this movie resolves. I feel like they pull their punches
a little
bit.
End on a note where they were like, okay, we're on our way back from this.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean, I don't hate the ending, but it does feel like in a movie where you are constantly being confronted with the realities of grief and the sort of pain of loss, to kind of end on this like, but don't worry, time and tide heals all. It's like, okay, come on. The girl's been dead for 3 months.
Yeah. So a title card informs us that a death in 2005 kicked off a series of spooky events that threw the Palmer family into the media spotlight. Which that is also a very underexplored quality of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't go too much into that, but they do. Again, I think this is where he's sort of pulling on that Peter Weir thing, is they do sort of get into like how everybody around them gets pulled into this story.
Yeah. Right. A blurry Super 8 shot of a family walking away from the camera introduces us to the subjects of this documentary, the Palmer family.
Part of the issue with the media of this film, the technology of this film, is like
people had fucking digital video cameras in 2008,
and they make this shit look like they're shooting it with like a pinhole camera you made in 8th grade science class.
Like they shot it on a fucking Fisher Price a Pixel Vision camera. Yeah, it's like a Super 8 shot of them walking away. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Like they didn't have like a fucking like a VHS camera sitting around?
And the problem would have been like in the definition of the images in the video would have been too good. And so it would really just sort of like ruin the premise of the film.
Yeah. Oh boy. They definitely get like 2000, like flip phone video camera footage, like perfect when they come around to that. Because they'll be like, and this is the spooky shit she captured. And it's like,
that's the part that actually feels accurate. Everything else where it's just like, what did you take this picture with?
It's unreal. Like, we are so spoiled with technology then, but man, a fucking Nokia. You just heard a sample of the latest Millennium Edition episode of Bring Me the Axe. To unlock the whole thing and gain access to all of our bonus materials, head over to patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod and subscribe. Subscribers at the $5 a month tier gain access to every bonus episode. That's 5 episodes a month. Our monthly Millennium Edition episode, our bi-weekly X-Files rewatch and 90s history podcast, Do You Think I'm Spooky, and my bi-weekly music show, Radio Free Haddonfield, all for just $5 a month. Millennium Edition episodes can also be unlocked for a one-time fee of $3. We're all about value at Bring Me the Axe. All subscribers, the free tier included, gain access to our listener Discord server, and members at the $2 tier and up gain access to the Watch Party channel, where we gather to stream the movies for upcoming Bring Me the Axe and 99-cent rental episodes. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod.